when you brought up a point, he really listened. He always had his classic, "Oh yeah," whenever you had something to say. He really took the time and gave you concentration and really sounded like he knew what you were saying and was staring deep into your soul. And then he would articulate a reply, but he would ponder the thought and then say something very simple but very direct. And so if there's one thing I'd like to take with me from Ompa, it is listen to people and say what you mean, simple and direct.
Next we're going to have Peter's wife Trudy. Mine's going to be very brief, but I wanted to talk a little bit about Ompa the baby whisperer. Ompa had this unbelievable ability to get the most unsettled baby to sleep in seemed like seconds. And so I remember like it was yesterday in our little house in Apollo Bay, and Leslie and Mark had come down. Luckily we actually saved them from nearly freezing to death in the middle of winter while they were building this place, I think, because Harriet was born in July. And Ompa sitting there on this big green exercise ball that we had, cuddling the swaddled Harriet, and he'd either just gently his monk-like oms, or he'd do his version of Kumbaya, and he liked to mix up the lyrics quite a lot to Kumbaya. And so Harriet, she had a blocked tear duct, so she constantly had a bit of goop in her eye that we were always sort of wiping away. And I remember this one time him sitting there, someone's sticky eye, kumbaya, someone's sticky eye, kumbaya, someone's sticky eye, kumbaya, oh, kumbaya. And, you know, baby asleep, us relaxed, everyone in the whole, room just almost ready to nod off. And so I think that beautiful, strong, calm, gentle peace was such an amazing thing that he brought to all of our lives, and I'll really miss that. Thank you, Drew. That was beautiful. And the last of the listed speakers is Mark, but again, anyone particularly who's here who wants to jump up?
Yep.
Yep.
Got my book on him too. So I've written something there that I know he will like, and the rest I'm just ad-libbing. I love this. This is great, and it helps with my notes because I've written a couple here, which I will. There's one in particular I want to address today. Let's have a look here. First of all, Mark himself and his effect on my life was profound. Life is complicated. We all know that as we get older. I have the fondest memories of Mark and Leslie as a Camelot time in my life. I just met the most beautiful girl in St Kilda and moved up to meet her mother, and then met this fellow Mark, and he'd been an ex-Communist Party member, and I was quite that way inclined myself at the time, so we got on like a house on fire, as I did with Leslie's mother as well. It was also a die-hard Red. But things changed after that. I found myself arguing with not a communist but an ex-communist. And Mark and Leslie convinced me to read a book on a fellow called Sai Baba that had a profound influence on Mark's life. He was very happy when I read the book. I read the book and it transformed me as well. And then we moved up to live with Mark and Leslie. And each day I would work 7 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon with Mark. And we've heard what that's like to work with Mark.
You work.
Yeah, you work, yes. After a year, I had a body tiredness that was unbelievable. Yeah, I was strong, but I had a weariness that was like really heavy. And I was glad when I could run off to the service industry, which I finally, when we decided to leave some years later. But I realised now that, like Peter, I was a bit lost too when I met him, and that he stripped me back and rebuilt foundations that I then went forward with life with. And I don't believe I would have been as successful as I have been without those foundations. And we literally were building foundations each day. And as well as getting physically strong, Mark Bennett made me spiritually and morally strong. Our discussions were philosophically endless, and they were deep. As your sister says, he was actually a deep thinker, even though he didn't see himself that way. So, with that in mind, as we know, he was a deep thinker, and some of his words of wisdom are up here. I wrote down a couple, but I haven't stuck up there. But my name's Cliff. Why don't you drop over? Sometimes is an obvious one. When I left Malakuta and started my new journey in the world with his foundations, his legacy remained for, well, I would say about 5 years. It took me to stop making air brake sounds when I was applying brake in my car. For those that aren't aware of that, every time Mark put his foot on the brake, it would be. Some of his other wisdom. It's all Mr. Corporate's fault. Yeah? And we've only got to look around what's going on today to see that he was absolutely right on that score. I found out a lot more about Mr. Corporate in those days, but we won't go into that now. Another thing that we could expand on with Mark is he said his wisdom was we need solar panels on every house making free hydrogen energy. His idea with that is hydrogen energy is often poo-pooed by experts who want nuclear energy because they say the cost of separating the hydrogen costs more than you get from the energy of the hydrogen itself. But Mark's logic was if you put solar panels on every house and just through electrolysis create a hydrogen and compress that in each home, you'd have free energy for everyone. And thus far I haven't seen or been able to pick a hole in that theory. So he's got the answer to free energy there.
He had the answer to everything.
He did.
Even if he didn't.
Now one of his big ones that I'm sure you've all heard at the table and maybe had some of you scratching your head as we discussed for a year is it's all an illusion. It's all an illusion, which used to frustrate people sometimes, yeah? Or they just ignore him. What I thought I'd do today is just extrapolate on that. What from the words of he was a master to me, but I'll use the words of his master and what he taught him. And I think you would like that today, that some words from Sai Baba. So the discourse was the whole world is illusion. Foolish ones who are born in illusion and grow up in illusion never recognize illusion for what it is. The whole world is illusion. All attachments are illusion. Family life is illusion. Death is illusion. All that you see and think is illusion. There is no such thing as Maya. It is all in one's imagination. To think that you are the body is Maya, is illusion. You mistakenly believe that you are something that you really are not. That is Maya. Believing you are the body makes life itself a painful illusion. Where are all the kings and emperors who were so proud of their accomplishments? They have all been ground to ash under the wheel of time. Days, months, years, and eras have all merged into one another. Time is one continuous flow, and in this flow, everything and everyone Every object, every person is washed away. Who can save whom? The only permanent entity who is not being washed away by time is the Lord of your heart. Only the Lord of your heart can protect you. The Lord is your stable bank for this unending river of time. Hold on to God. That is the secret to life. That is the mark of a hero. Believe in God and do not believe in the world of illusion. That is the right way to live your life and the only way you can truly enjoy it. Remember these three principles. 1. Do not forget the Lord in your heart. 2. Do not believe in the illusion. 3. Never be afraid of death. These are the three guiding principles for all humanity. Forgetting these principles, man wastes his time, and time is precious. Death is dangling its sword over every head. Our lifespan is rapidly diminishing, like water seeping through a broken pot or a melting block of ice. Death will often overtake man even before he realizes his mission in this life. When we travel, we pack many things in our bags, but what preparations do you make for the ultimate journey, the voyage of death? Grief will often send you back to God. When a child dies, ask yourself this question: is it for my sake that they were born? Feel that you are born with the dawn of every day, that you nestle in the lap of death when your eyes close in sleep. The body, the senses, the mind, the intelligence, all is negated and there is no trace of awareness of the world. Know then that waking from sleep is birth and going into sleep is death. A baby wails when it is born because the individual soul has no desire to become entangled in the objective world of illusion yet again. This life, which begins with a wail, must end with a smile. When you were a baby, all around you smiled, though you kept on wailing. But when you die, while those around you weep at your loss, you should now be smiling in peace and quiet resignation. For all will arrive one day as beggars and refugees at the gate of God. The true hero in death is he who at that moment does not cringe, does not flatter, and does not fawn. A real hero in life is one who knows that the world was always a temporal illusion and that only the love in your heart is eternal and real. Saram.
And we have another speaker. He's so much like your mum.
I know. Don't know if I'm happy about that or not. But anyway. I've just got a few vignettes of Uncle Mark. When Nana fell pregnant with him, she was 39 years old. She was horrified, absolutely horrified. It was a complete mistake. And what a wonderful mistake we ended up having. When he was born, Nana didn't breastfeed. Those were the era she wasn't interested, and he used to be given straight cow's milk, straight from the cow. And consequently, he used to have a lot of convulsions as a small baby. And Mum was 11 and Uncle Eddie was 10. And one night there was a whole lot of commotion going on up in the bedroom with Nana and Uncle Mark's dad, which was another Mark. And Mum said to Uncle, "What's happening?" And Uncle Eddie goes, "Oh, he's having another one of those volcanoes." So that was his word for the convulsions. He gave Nana so much grief, she didn't know how to deal with him at all because he's always been a free spirit, completely thinking for himself from the moment he was born. And he used to embarrass her immensely in front of people. One day they went visiting someone and this lady had a dog and the dog had been chewing on a bone and Uncle Mark wanted that bone. And he was carrying around, he was going home with it on the train, come hell or high water. And Mum's friend, Nana's friend said, "Oh, just don't worry about it, just slip it out of his pocket, you know, just before you leave." So Nana did that and they got on the train. This is 1945, he was about 5 years old on the train. all of a sudden Uncle Mark realises he hasn't got the bone in his pocket. And at the top of his voice he goes, "Where's my fucking bone?" So, I mean, that's pretty profound. You know, 1945 coming from a 5-year-old. Anna came home in tears. She was to my grandfather going, "Oh my God, this boy will be the death of me. I just can't stand it. I can't take it anywhere." So that's I mean, this is a personality, you know, like from the get-go, you know. And as a kid he used to just take off all day. He'd be gone all day, and they found out later on he'd be going in the underwater drains. Like, if anything had happened, if there'd been rain or something, they would never have known where he was, but he used to go off exploring all day. When he was a young man, a good-looking young man, he was working out at the airport on the water tower, had a major accident, and a big drill thing blew up and took out the top part of his leg. And a grinder, was it? A grinder. Took out the top part of it. He was lucky he didn't lose his leg. It was that close. But, and in everything he always saw the humour. He saw the humour in everything. And he remembers it by the fact that the foreman kept running around going, "What do we do? What do we do?" Running around like a madman. And the only bloke there that actually helped him and knew what to do, couldn't speak English, and just held him there, made sure the bleeding had stopped until he got to hospital. So, and he always told it in a funny way, which I can't do, unfortunately. But I remember as a kid going to visit him at the hospital, and the nurses were always so nice to her. You know, Lisa and I, they were just so nice to us. And I realise now, as we're trying to get him good with us because he was so good looking. You know what I mean? Like they were really wanting to, get on his good side, But because he was never ever interested, I don't think he had no idea about how he was just always attractive to people in his personality, in who he was. He was just someone you, as you say, you just wanted to be next to. We used to go camping in Jericho with Dad and Uncle Mark and his friend Richard, and I used to go on the back of Uncle Mark, and Lisa went on the back of Richard. No helmets, no nothing, and they used to race through the bush tracks at top speed. And Mum was so devoted to her brother, she put our lives at risk because she always felt that whatever you did with Uncle Mark, you were safe.
Yep.
And he was just someone who we're going to just all miss so much because people like Mark only come along very rarely. They're just calming, beautiful. If all men were as beautiful as Uncle Mark, this planet would have absolutely no problems.
Yep.
The beauty within, his calmness, his way of thinking, his kindness and generosity, and just also lucky that we had him. He may have been a mistake at the beginning, but my God, he certainly ended up being the best thing that ever happened to us. So that's it.
I'll be really quick. I've just